To welcome you for the first annual conference of the EU Tax Observatory. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to our wonderful speakers and panelists. In June last year, we launched the EU Tax Observatory in Brussels. And what amazing progress in just 1 year. Many achievements to celebrate, groundbreaking studies on profit shifting, the presence of banks in tax havens, new forms of tax competition, a global asset registry, offshore real estate, and many other topics. Covered in more than 500 press articles in 35 different countries. Just a few weeks ago, the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen praised the work of the observatory, saying, we agree with their estimates of tax extra revenues that could be collected with a minimum tax on profits. So covered really, in the EU and globally. We launched our website with very impressive research and data repository, more than 145,000 visitors over the last year, numerous events in the EU and beyond. And this is just the beginning, because we have high ambition for the future. We need to be ambitious. We need to be ambitious because as nations, we need to invent the tax systems of the 21st century. If you think about it, today's tax systems are to a large extent the brainchildren of the 1950s, so to speak. Why do I say that? Because if you look at the structure of tax revenues in the EU and globally, more than 50% of tax revenues today originate from just two taxes, the VAT and payroll taxes. And the VAT was invented in the 1950s. In France, it was first experimented in France, and then it's one of those great French experts. It caught fire, and it was generalized pretty much all over the world. Payroll taxes were invented a bit before that, but they only became big just after World War II in the context of the creation of modern social security systems just after the war. At the time, in the 50s, it really made sense to say, look, we're going to collect a lot of tax revenues with a VAT, a big VAT, and big payroll taxes. Capital stocks were low after World War II, so it made sense to say we're going to tax consumption, we're going to exempt saving, which is what the VAT does, because, with low capital stocks, we want to encourage saving, we want to encourage capital accumulation. That makes a lot of sense. In the post-World War II decades, the labor share of income was relatively high. The bargaining power of workers was stronger than it was today. Unions were more powerful. The labor share was high, and so it made sense to say, okay, to fund these new social security systems, we're going to tax primarily wages. Inequality of income and wealth was at a historical nadir, at a low water mark, in the post-World War II decades in Europe. And so having flat tax rates, the VAT is a flat tax on consumption, payroll taxes are flat taxes on wages, was not a major issue at the time. Inequality was not a major issue. Now, today's context is dramatically different, and in many ways is the opposite of the 1950s. Number one, the ratio of wealth to GDP has increased enormously over the last decades. In the 1950s, it was 200%, roughly. Today, it's 600%. There's just a lot more wealth in the economy. The labor share of income has been falling. The capital share has been rising. Income and wealth inequality have been on the rise, less so in Europe than in other countries like the US or China or India, but still rising. There's climate change. That was not an issue in the 50s, 60s. Now it's really an existential issue. And so we need to invent 21st century tax systems that will be adapted to the inequality challenge, the climate change challenge, and the open and global nature of the world economy. We need to invent the new instruments, the new forms of cooperation, of international cooperation, that will make our societies flourish in the 21st century. This conference and our work in the coming years are a step in this long process, and I'm very thankful to all of you for being a part of it. So I look forward to a great conversation today. Thank you very much for being here.